Hi, everyone. We are still working with the respiratory system today. We're going to start with a book, and then we have a really fun project where we make lungs using paper bags. So today you'll need your paper bags. You'll need your straws. You'll need something to color with like crayons or colored pencils. You'll need scissors. I know this is a lot. You'll need scissors. You'll need tape and some glue. And I think that's it. So let's get started. We'll start with our book and then we'll move on to the project. Okay, so this is a book about the respiratory system. And remember what the respiratory system is. That's what's the big organ? You can see it right here. What's that big organ? Yeah, those are our lungs. So it's our lungs and all the different parts that help us breathe. Let's read and remember about this. What is the respiratory system? The respiratory system brings oxygen into the blood and into the body, and it removes carbon dioxide. We breathe in oxygen, the body's cells use it for energy and growth. Then the body makes waste. Carbon dioxide, remember that's that gas we breathe out. Carbon dioxide waste is breathed out. The respiratory system begins and ends with the airway. It includes the nose, the mouth, the trachea, and then the bronchi. Remember the bronchi are the tubes that connect to the lung. When the trachea splits into two. The lungs and diaphragm also make up the respiratory system. So here's the lungs. And then remember, this is that muscle, the diaphragm. How does the respiratory system work? The diaphragm contracts and it flattens out. So it moves down and flattens out and pulls air into the nose or mouth. Excuse me. The air that enters the nose or mouth passes through the airway. That's that trachea, right? Goes through air. The air ends up in the lungs. It goes down the trachea into the lungs. The lungs get bigger as more air fills them. We knew that. The respiratory system is lined with a mucous membrane. The mucous membrane traps things like dust and smoke. Cilia line the membrane. These tiny hairs move the trapped material out the nose and mouth. And what do you think happens when they're moving out dust or smoke or something? How do we get it out? We cough. We cough it out. That's if these little hairs get tickled or something gets in there, we'll cough it out. The clean air moves down the trachea. The trachea branches into two bronchi. That's right here. See the two? Air moves through these tubes and enters the lungs. The bronchi branch into bronchioles. They end with tiny air sacs. Does anybody remember what those air sacs are called? Sounds almost like ravioli. Alveoli, right? The is down here. Oxygen passes through the air sac walls. The oxygen enters the blood. Oxygen-rich blood leaves the lungs and it goes to the heart. The heart pumps the blood throughout the body. The blood gives oxygen to the body's cells. The cells use oxygen and make carbon dioxide. The blood carries carbon dioxide back to the heart and lungs. And then it happens all in reverse, right? The diaphragm pushes the air out of the lungs. Carbon dioxide leaves the body. We breathe out. Why is the respiratory system important? The respiratory system also forces air between the vocal cords. The air makes the cords move back and forth. This makes sound, and it's why we can talk. And then over here, there's an experiment that you can do with the respiratory system. We'll skip that page for now. We're going to do our own project in a minute. And then let's see, it's important to take care of the lungs. Exercising makes the lungs stronger. Strong lungs help us breathe every day without even thinking, right? Our lungs and our heart, when we exercise and get our heart rate up, that makes our lungs and our heart healthy. That's why PE is a really important time of our week. And that's it for that book. Okay. So we are going to get ready for doing our lung project. The first thing that we'll do for our lung project is we are going to color these lungs. So you can use colored pencils or crayons, and we'll color that in. So let me just give you some ideas for colors. The lungs are usually colored kind of like a pinky, peachy color. You might do the bronchioles like a tan or a brown, something kind of like orangey, creamy colored for those in the alveoli. But I'll let you decide. So I want you to pause me and do the coloring, and I'll do my coloring, and then we'll meet back. Oh, you know what you can do too? Do the coloring and then cut them out. And then we'll meet back together for the next steps. So color, cut, and then come back to me. Hi, so we're back. You should have your lungs colored and cut out and ready to go. So the next step, I'm just gonna show, you're not gonna see my head so well, so just listen to me talk, but look at what my hands are doing, okay? Because I want you to definitely see what I'm doing here, okay? So here's your bags, and we're gonna put the opening up at the top, right? I'm gonna do mine upside down. So you do yours the other way, where you put the, put the bottom of the bag towards you. But I'm gonna do mine the other way so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and then you want to put your lungs on. You're gonna glue them on so they look like this. Now, can you see how the bronchi, those are those two little parts here that the trachea split into are right here. And see how like the curvy but straighter edge is on the outside, and see the really curvy part is on the inside. So you can go ahead and glue those on, and we're going to glue them towards the bottom of the bag because we'll need to do some work with the top of the bag for this project. So put your glue on the back of your lung and then down towards the bottom of your bag, and just glue that on, and do that with both sides. Okay. So then we're going to pretend that these paper bags are our lungs. So there's our lungs. And remember, the diaphragm will be down here. We're not actually adding a diaphragm today. And then the next thing we'll need, so you can put your glue aside, you won't need that anymore. We'll use our tape and our straws. And we're going to pretend that our straws are our trachea. So right in here, our windpipe, we're going to pretend that the straws are. And so they will split into two bronchi, but at the top, we'll pretend that they're one, and we'll actually end up putting some tape on there. So, okay, let's go ahead and we'll work on one lung first. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to open up your bag, and you know how you can put your hand down in there and kind of like open it all the way so it's square like that, or rectangular. And then you're going to put your straw in. And then the next thing we have to do is a little bit tricky. So if you need some help, ask a family member or someone who you have close by that can help you, okay? So you're going to twist see this? You're going to twist the bag around the top. On the top of the bag, you're going to twist it around the straw and just let it sit for a minute. That's when we're going to use tape. And we want to really seal it so that the air doesn't get out. So we're going to twist it. Oop, my tape is curling up around my finger. And then you're going to really tape it. And I know from experience when I practice this that you might need to use a lot of tape. Okay, because you really want to get a good seal. Okay, so keep taping to get that good seal, and you also don't want your bag to fall off. Some good tape there. Really, even when you think you're done, maybe add just one more layer of that tape, okay? So that it'll be like this. In the end, you'll see it's like pretty taped on, and that's our lung. And you can even test it out by If you blow into the bag, it should blow out. And then you can carefully, very carefully release the air. Okay, so that's how you'll know that it's sealed. So you're going to do that to both of your lungs. Okay, so tape and seal them to the straw. Okay, I'm going to pause the video for a minute so you don't have to watch me do both, but I want you to pause me and to tape both of your straws into your bag. Okay, and then you'll be at the point just like this where I am. Okay, so you should be set to go with your 2 bags taped to your straws. Your 2, I mean lungs, not bags. Your 2 lungs taped to your, bronchi. Okay, so the next step for this is I want to ask you a question. So these are our bronchi where they go into the lungs. And up here, it is our windpipe. Now, do you have 2 windpipes, 2 trachea, or just 1? Just 1. So we're going to tape this together so that it's more realistic and it's like our actual trachea. So I'm going to match up my straws here at the top and put some tape around them. And then just do that a few times just to get your straws together. So it's like our trachea. We have 1 trachea in our body. So you're going to tape that up. Okay. And then you'll have something that looks like this when it's finished. I got pinched a little bit there. Okay. So there's your trachea and your lungs. And then what you're going to do is you can simulate the process of air coming into our trachea down, or the windpipe down through the bronchi and then into the lungs. And you can envision that that air is going through all these bronchioles over to the alveoli where it gets into the blood and goes to our body. So I'm going to flatten my lungs, and that they're not full of air right now. We just got rid of carbon dioxide, and I'm going to fill them with oxygen. Ready? We're pretending that we're breathing in and filling them with oxygen. Okay, so if these were my lungs, they'd be full of the oxygen-rich air right now. That air is going through the bronchioles to the alveoli, where it's entering the bloodstream, and the heart's going to pump it through our body. And then what happens when you breathe out? The lungs get smaller and smaller, and out comes the carbon dioxide. And our lungs become smaller. So what I want you to do is I want you to show this to somebody, someone in your family, okay? Or you could even do a phone call or a FaceTime or a Zoom with someone else that's not in your family. And I want you to show them how this works. Explain the different parts. What is this? Trachea, right? And so you breathe in and air goes through your trachea, and then it goes through the 2 bronchi. There's one that goes this way, one that goes this way. And then the air goes through all these little tubes called bronchioles, right? And this air is full of what important gas? Oxygen. And then in the alveoli, these little popcorn looking sacs, they're air sacs, that is where the oxygen enters the bloodstream. And then it goes back to the heart to be pumped all throughout our body. And then when that blood is full of the carbon dioxide it picked up from the cells, comes back to the lungs, back to those alveoli, and everything happens in reverse. It then goes through the bronchioles, through the bronchi, back up and out. Okay, so I want you to show this to someone, show them how it works, and tell them all about the respiratory system and what you know. Okay, there's my oxygen-filled lungs. Out goes the air. And that keeps happening over and over. And normally, we don't even have to think about breathing, do we? Our body just takes care of it. When we do mindful breathing, so we do think about breathing in and breathing out and really controlling our breath. And so we want to take slow, deep breaths. So we do think about it when we do mindful breathing, but as we go through our day, really our body takes care of it on its own. It's pretty fascinating and amazing. Okay, so go ahead. Remember, your job now is to go explain how these work and how the respiratory system works to someone in your family. Okay, see you later, everyone.